Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Relax Radio Beyond Frequencies. This is, of course, Politics 2.0, a special show where we are talking to politicians and ministers about the current situation in the country. So, joining me today is Mr. Chamit Vijay Sundara. He is the national organizer for the SJB party, that is the Samagi Jana Balavegya party. And he is joining me today to share his thoughts on the current economic crisis. Mr. Vijay Sundara, thank you so much for joining us on this program and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, to start off with, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your party, and what is your stance on the crisis?
Basically, I'm from Colombo, and I went to Royal College, and I basically joined. I don't have a family background in politics, like my parents were not involved in politics. So I joined Sajid Premadasa when I was about 21 years old, and now I've been with him for about 15 years now. So I've been working with him throughout and working around the country because he had a lot of projects when we were in the opposition before 2015 called helping temples, all religious sites. So we were doing those kind of projects, helping those religious institutions and schools and whatnot. Sorry. And so then as you know, then 2015, I was working with him in the housing ministry as well. And after that, I was basically handling most of the 2019 presidential campaign. And then after we lost the election, as you know, we came into a few issues with the United National Party, and then we decided to because um, we were promised so many things and letting young leaders take over United National Party, but that wasn't the case. So then most of the party decided, especially the young guns, they decided that we should form a new front, a new alliance. That's how Samagijana Balavege became a party, and we in 2020 we were the first party after forming. Within 2 months, we got 53 seats in parliament. And as you know, the United National Party, the former main opposition party, and which held the government from 2015 to 2019, they were reduced to zero. Actually, only one seat in parliament. That's also a national seat. So, so within just couple of months, we gained the trust of the people. Well, not to what do you call, not to head the country, but to be the main opposition party. And for the first time in history, because Sajid Premadas is a person, he wants to work for the people, to work for the country. Normally, as you know, in any country, most of when you're in the opposition, what you do is you just criticize the current government. But changing that, Honorable Sajid Premadasa, he has started two programs. One, when COVID hit Sri Lanka, he, as you know, some people blame him for what he says in Parliament, but everything has become it has become reality. So he started a program in April in 2020, just after COVID hit. He started a program called HUSMA, where he provides medical equipment to hospitals. And to be honest, most of the hospitals which doesn't have equipment, they don't send requesting letters. Whatever equipment they want, they send it to the opposition leader's office. And it's not like we have government funding. So Mr. Premadasa, what he does is he calls upon private donors and people from abroad who wants to help. So he asks for them for help, and that's how he provides these equipment. and to keep it very transparent, he doesn't take money to hand. He gets, for example, if you want to donate, what he does is he speaks to you and he connects you with the supplier, and then after that he gets the equipment from the supplier straight to the hospital. So his work ethic is very transparent as well. So he has done so much of work like that, and recently, and Husma, for now he has given to 50 hospitals, and I think the amount comes over 100 million rupees that he has donated to the health sector in Sri Lanka. Being in the opposition, that's the main point. And he has again started another program for village level schools, providing called Sakwala, providing computers and smart boards. So I mean, a lot of people today talk about, going into the 21st century, and talking, and even the current president, he was talking about IT revolution in the country. But when COVID hit, they didn't have a plan until I think 2021 end. They didn't have a plan to for online classes. Even they didn't have a plan. So talking about that sector, so he has, a lot of village schools, they don't even have computers, even though we are talking about IT revolution. So what he does is he gets, like, the health sector, he gets letters from so many schools from Colombo, from cities and villages both as well. So what he does is he selects and he provides these equipment to these schools. So he is actually making a change without just sitting in the opposition. SJB, we want to provide solutions for the country as well. So for the history, in the history, I do not know any opposition leader who has worked so much as the opposition leader.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Sundar. So, in your opinion, how long will it take for the crisis to stabilize? How long will it take for things to become normal in this country again?
So I'm not economist, but what I've sitting with Harsha De Silva when he has been, because we have a program, another program where we get young entrepreneurs and business people to come, and we take their suggestions, ideas, and we present our plan, our economic plans, and what our thoughts are on the current situation. So when I've been sitting in those meetings, what Harsha De Silva actually says is the current situation is very bad, and it's getting worse. So so what he's saying is it'll at least take another 3 to 4 years for it to go back to 2019 level. And for us to properly change, I mean, everything has to change drastically. And the whole system has to change, and how we operate has to change, and we have to connect to the world. And the economy is in this level because just 2 days ago I saw Sarath Veerasekara talking about religious extremism again. I mean, because of these issues only, I think we are in this current situation. And so I think, as a simple answer, what Harsha told the group was that for us to become a proper
Is it
economically
is it
stable.
because of the now communal situations and religious situations? Do you think that they play a role in the economic crisis, Mr. Vijay Sundar?
Well, I mean, some people are trying to make it like that. And I think because of those things only, I think we are here because we can't connect to the world. You see Singapore or Malaysia. I mean, all these leaders are talking about how Gotabaya was going to be Lee Kuan Yew, and so on and so forth. But I mean, other countries now, Thailand legalized marijuana. And so those are progressive things. But if we even try to talk about I mean, similar things. Even talking about, opening. I mean, foreigners come in, giving wine and beer licenses. A lot of monks, they start protesting. I mean, a country cannot move forward, especially if you are targeting tourism. So those kind of things, I think. Uh, and then, like, they complain about how tradition is going to be affected by all this. But I mean, uh, in Sinhala, you say, whatever we do, we look at the time. වෙලා බලලා තමයි අපි වැඩක් කරන්න ඕනේ කියන්නේ. But I mean, we do everyone in this country, whatever the religion, you just look at a time and before you start a new business or enter a house or whatever it is. But what has that brought us? Today we are like begging from other countries, and they are not even helping us. So no point sticking and talking about big history when we cannot move forward as a country together to out of this problem. So we have to think new things without hanging. I mean, history is good, but we need to look at the future.
Now, you mentioned tourism and how tourism is good for the country. So, on that subject, what about countries like Russia? Now, as you know, because of the Russia-Ukraine war, a lot of countries have stopped doing business with Russia. So, is it Sri Lanka's opportunity to jump in and maybe take advantage of the lack of competition in the Russian business market to maybe start doing oil trades from Russia to Sri Lanka? What are your thoughts on foreign aid?
I think we should really tap into it because, I mean, there's a saying, beggars can't be choosers, right? And right now, I feel the current government is not looking at it because of, I mean, good that India is helping us, but we, as a non-allied nation, we should be looking at every option, saying that, I mean, India is helping us a lot. But I saw day before yesterday, the Russian president has told that they are willing to help Sri Lanka. So I think we should get their help, saying that India is helping and saying that the European countries and the West saying that they are having a problem with Russia. That's not our issue. We are in our own problems, and whoever is willing to help us, we should take their help. We can't
What are
be
the
choosing.
what are the
Yeah.
various ways in which Russia is offering to help Sri Lanka?
I think they are willing to. I mean, as you can, I mean, we can, as a nation, we should be talking to them how they can help us. I mean, they can provide us with oil and gas, and especially when during this is during summertime. So the gas prices from Russia, which they're sending it to Europe, will be very cheap. So we should be looking at getting gas and fuel from Russia, because and I think we'll get a better price as because they have been helping us for a very long time in the international stage. So if I think especially either the president or the prime minister should send an envoy to Russia and actually speak with them.
So, in your opinion, who are the people or the parties to be blamed for this current crisis?
Well, to be very honest, the problem erupted in 94, in my opinion, because we do not export anything. We only export garments, and that happened because of Ranasinghe Premadasa starting to give investors to invest in these factories. So after that, we haven't made anything, and the world has moved on. I mean, now if you take Vietnam, Singapore, uh, Bangladesh, India, so they have jumped on all these opportunities, and they have moved on from making garments to making microchips to telephones and so on and so forth. So I think we should be we just stopped from garments. We just stopped, and we just uh, again. I think the problem is because of this extremist saying we are just one nation. We don't need the others. We don't have to tie ourselves with the international community and bringing religion into it. And I think that's why I say this is a big problem which came from 94, 96. So I mean, the perfect opportunity would have been after the war, getting all these countries to come and invest in Sri Lanka. So but that never happened. And today, that's why I think we don't have a proper export oriented market. So I think that's the main issue when it comes to our country and our situation. And I think mainly the mismanagement after 2000, because as you know, in 2019, when this government, when the president took oaths and placed a new government, there was $7.5 billion in as reserves. And today we don't even have $1 million as a government. So that's very sad. And as you know, if you and I, if we have a job and if we lose it, and if we have 500,000 rupees as savings, we will do something when you start spending those savings, right? We will either look for a new job or cut down on spending, or something would have happened. But these guys, they haven't, they literally don't care, because it's not their money, it's the taxpayers' money. So it's completely mismanagement. And I think especially the Rajapakshas and Ajit Niwad Kabral, Artigala, the secretaries, and PB Jayasundara, they actually have to be responsible for this situation, and the people have forgotten about them. Uh, you remember how Ajit Niwad Kabral was speaking when he was when he was in parliament, and then when he was the governor, how this situation is how he said this situation is not a serious situation and everything is handled. And today he's not even being seen. So these guys are responsible for the current situation of this country and
So,
for tarnishing the future of younger generations. I mean, if you speak to so many young people are leaving this country, and they are having a better lifestyle than what our youngsters are facing here. So many, so many youngsters who had plans of starting a new business, starting a new life, getting their businesses, having as in a getting their businesses to have a better future. Everything is down the drain now, and I know so many people who cannot even who have planned to get married, and they can't get married now because it's too costly. They don't even have, they can't afford a house, they can't afford a vehicle, and so many problems they are facing as youth. I mean, if you go to another country, I have friends in Australia. They have when they're 30, they have their own house. They have moved out from their parents, and they have started their own life. But as you know, in Sri Lanka, that is not possible. I mean, it's a sad situation. And it's not their fault. The other people who are managing the situation, they are not responsible enough, or they are not accountable, and we still don't hold them accountable. I mean, at least something is happening now. But I hope, as you and I know, Sri Lankan mentalities, we tend to forget a lot of things. Uh, the same cues were seen in the 70s. I wasn't born then, but I've heard from my parents. And the just the other day, I was going in a tuk, because, as you know, the fuel situation is really bad in Sri Lanka. So I was going in a tuk, and and this tuk driver was complaining about the situation, and he admitted, he was saying, he was saying how we should get rid of the Rajapakshas and whatnot. Then I just put it out there saying, will people forget what they did? And he actually admitted, he said he was a youngster in the 70s, and he was in the line in queues with his father and mother both. And in 94, he voted for Chandrika Kumartunga. So, I mean, it's a scary thing, but I think youngsters are more aware of things now. And I hope they keep going on with this Aragale, and the change we need should happen. And I hope the youngsters fight for it.
I couldn't agree more, Mr. Vijay Sundara. Also, now you were talking about the past of Sri Lanka. Could we have foreseen this situation? Were there any danger signals that people ignored maybe years ago, when at the birth pangs of this entire economic crisis that has now completely gone out of control in Sri Lanka?
Uh, I mean, there were so many. Well, the example I can give you is when the light rail project was cancelled when Gotabaya Rajapaksa became the president. That was I don't know, that was a huge mistake. And now we are going behind Japan and begging for 3 to 4 billion dollars. And that was a project which was needed. We have these Nelum Kulunas and Nelum Pokunas, and which you don't bring anything to date. They don't have a plan for those things. And I saw something a couple of days ago where they're trying to lease out the Lotus Tower. So, I mean, we don't have any plan for these things, and we have spent millions of dollars on these white elephant projects. So,
So
the
what can we
I
do
mean,
to control this situation right now? Now you said they were planning on leasing out the Lotus Tower. Uh, Overall, what can we do to control prices at the moment?
well, I think overall, I think we should get rid of institutions which are, as you know, Sri Lankan Airlines. We spend 100 million rupees a day just to keep it float. So that's a huge amount. Imagine if it's 100 million rupees we are saving a day if we get rid of it. You know. So I mean, there are so many things like that. So many institutions are losing money, taxpayers' money, and we are still paying. Some directors to employees X amount of money just to keep it float. So I think we should privatize most institutions, and I think that's the time. I mean, if you go to other countries, uh, just if you take India as an example, most of their airports are privatized, and they are run really well. I'm not saying to privatize the whole thing. At least keep it 49-51% at least. Keep 51% or to the government, and give the whole management to the private sector. And most transportation sectors in the world, it's privatized. So why does, and we are losing so much of money, and it's not even, I mean, you can't go in a bus. It's not maintained properly. It's a disaster. So, like, we are paying, taxpayers are paying so much of money, and you're not even getting a proper service. So at least if you give it, certain institutions to the private sector, they will run it well, and they'll have a quality, service given to the customer. So we should really look at reforming these things, and our mentality also. Saying that, I mean, this country, when people talk about privatization, they are scared, and they don't want to look at it in that way. Even the employees, they are ready to strike and all that. But I mean, times have changed. The world has moved forward, and we are still in one place. We are still, I feel personally, we are still in the 80s, even though we are in 2022. So we should get rid of this mentality and move forward and look at changes. There are so many things, and so many people who are, who can provide for this economy, are leaving the country. for a better life. So I think we should drastically change our mentality, and so that we can properly get together and fix the economy.
Now, you say quite rightly that we should all get together to solve the solution. So, for example, what about a scheme like where everyone in this country donates just 1 rupee to one fund that is geared towards taking care of the worst affected people in this country? For example, the tuk drivers, like you mentioned, they are the ones who are facing the worst brunt of the economic crisis. They can't pay for their fuel. So if everyone in this country donated, let's say, just 1 rupee, we would have something to the tune of tens of millions of rupees. Maybe we could make a fund for the most affected people in this country. What do you think of a scheme like that?
I think the problem here is, whatever we do, the people do not trust the government. We don't have to make a special fund for the situation. If you have a proper government, and if the president realizes more 95 to 98% of the population, even people who voted for him, personally, I'm sure you also know, I also know people who voted for him, who are sick of him now. They want them to go. They voted him in, they campaigned for him in 2019, and they're sick of him now. And they themselves say that they were wrong on giving a vote towards Gotabaya Rajapaksa. So if he realizes that he has failed, and they go on about saying how much they love this country. If so, if the country and its people are saying to leave, that you have failed, and you're ruining this country, I personally, if I was him, I would have left by now. Because I want this country to have a better future. I want its citizens, I want its younger generations to have a better future. So he should understand it. And if he goes, the people who are abroad, the Rataviruo, so called, by the 2019, the campaign done by Gotabe and his team. So Rataviruo will start sending the money again. And that is, that will at least help us to get the fuel for a month, because we are getting about 600 to 500 to 600 million dollars from them for a month with the remittance. So no one trusts this government. So even the COVID fund, up till recently, they haven't used it. People, which country normally, when COVID started, a PCR was 10,000 rupees. So imagine, and it was priority. If someone in the family got COVID, everyone should take a PCR. That's 40,000 rupees. Normally, in a country, a responsible government will be regulating it. But this was never regulated. This was regulated 2020, 21 November or something, for like 2 months. Then almost people forgot about COVID by then. You know, what do you call, the antigen kit was close to 6,000 or 7,000 rupees. It was never regulated. And the COVID fund was never used. When the opposition and professionals were begging the government to give the orders for the vaccines, they didn't do that. They were going behind a syrup, and they were throwing these, I don't know what you call it, those muttis and colors to the water, praying that COVID goes away. So it's not a responsibly, but this government is not this government is not responsible for the citizens. So whatever fund there is, if you're not transparent, and if you don't use a fund which is created by the people, even, because end of the day, the government will have to uh, start using it. And if it's not transparent, the problem is the people don't trust this government. So whatever fund me, you, and the citizens get together and make, um,
So,
the
for
government will.
example, if there is a radical change at the higher echelons of this government, is it more likely that institutions like the International Monetary Fund will be likely to donate to Sri Lanka?
I think I think my personal opinion is I think it should be a all party government. And I mean even when the SJB wanted to take over the government, we had conditions of telling the president to give a time. We gave a timeline, but he refused our timeline. But then we said, okay, you give a timeline. So that, but but he didn't agree. So to do those reforms, and if it's a all-party government, I mean, Ranil Wickremesinghe went and took the premiership from Gotabaya Rajapaksa. But the proper thing to do was he should have spoken to SJB, JVP, and the Tamil Alliance, all the opposition parties, and say that okay, he's going to take it. What are the conditions, and he should have had a plan like that. But he just went and took it, and you can see the same old cabinet ministers are back on, and they are heading the cabinet again and the government. So. Uh, So I think if a proper all party government comes in, I think international institutions will trust our country as a nation and help us. And I think into that, not only political parties, I think certain number of professionals to civil society people should be also present and have like a, I don't know, like a committee or something like that as well to advise or to head this interim government kind of thing. That's, I think, the best way forward to get the trust of the international community.
So, on another note, are there any alternatives to fuel? For example, can we obtain renewable energy supplies in Sri Lanka, like what the United Kingdom is trying to do? Boris Johnson wants to transition from fuel to things like wind farms, non-renewable, from non-renewable to renewable energy. Can we do the same thing in Sri Lanka, given the current resources, like wind farms, nuclear energy? What are your thoughts on those?
Well, I'm not an expert on nuclear energy, but I've heard that's the best way forward. But I don't know with the thing is, I think before I know recently the a new bill was passed also about renewable energy in Sri Lanka. But I think the problem is the CEB, So that or before this bill was passed, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was close to about 100 megawatts. I think from solar energy. I'm not sure of the number, which was already you just had to plug it into the system where we could have used 100 megawatts. We would have been able to use 100 megawatts, but that wasn't given approval. I know it's approved now. So I think that here again there are mafias which are not for renewable energy. So hopefully by this the new bill passing, I hope, as the minister says, that it will be no more. But I think as a nation we should go into renewable energy because I mean the cost, even if this queues of petrol and diesel queues are going down, one day if it goes down even, the price is so high, a normal citizen cannot afford it. So I mean I myself, because of this fuel crisis, I come to office, I go to office or wherever, to the gym or wherever, I bought myself a electric scooter. So I go in a scooter now. And so, I mean, we should look into renewable energy. And I mean, one fine day, first, I think before talking about nuclear energy, we'll have to, like you said, we'll have to sort out the wind farms and the solar farms first before looking into that. But that's the future.
So now you just said, sir, that you have bought an electric scooter to travel to work. Would you recommend that other people all over this country, just in the short term, just to stay in control, do you think that they should also opt for things like electric scooters and bicycles as a short term strategy of dealing with the current crisis?
I think already the country, I mean, you go in Colombo, I see, I mean, before you don't see anyone cycling. Now you see so many people are cycling to work or wherever they're headed. But a lot of people are cycling. A lot of people are looking at alternatives. But the problem with, because I got myself electric scooter when in 2018, but now with the dollar situation, it's very expensive. But I mean, locally, I think there's a producer called Roder. But in this situation, also, I think the government should look into something to help a normal citizen. People who can afford it, but people who can't afford it cannot afford it. So, I mean, they should. But I see a lot of people riding bicycles now on the streets of Colombo. So they should
Uh,
really look into other alternatives, and I think people are. I mean, a lot of people are, walking or like doing something. They're anyway right now thinking of, I hear so many people trying to move into like closer to their workplace. Even if it's a one bedroom small annex, even they're looking at it because the travel costs are so high now.
Now, is there any way that we can force the guilty parties to come to light? For example, is there any constitutional law that can prosecute the guilty parties who were behind the economic crisis in Sri Lanka?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I mean, last week when Parliament has, I think the CEB chairman is going today for the COP, but last week in the finance committee, what I hear is uh, PB Jayasundara article and Ajit Niwad Cabral has attended the finance committee meeting in Parliament, and when questioned why these tax cuts were given for us to be in this situation, why these tax cuts were given in 2019, he has basically said that was in the Saubhagyadatma proposal, that was the election proposal in 2019, and they were just doing the work which was given by that proposal, and the people see there's a 6.9 million mandate. So I think I don't think there are enough laws to I mean enough laws to prosecute these people. But I think there should be special courts for these things, because I mean we are in a I mean people are hardly eating, and these people are having a lavish lifestyle, and they're coming and giving unnecessary, I mean, like stupid answers. I mean, at least you don't even see them feeling bad for. I mean, if we do something wrong, we have a conscience and we feel bad about it. These people are not even feeling bad about it. So there should be special courts, and especially these people should be prosecuted. I mean, people are hardly eating these days. Kids don't have a proper meal. There's no medicine. People are dying on the streets and in petrol queues and gas queues. I mean, where's the humanity?
Also, Mr. Vijay Sundara, now the youth say that they believe that the older generation has failed them, that they have not carried out their responsibilities towards the younger generation. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the older generation is responsible for the future of the younger generation? How would you advise the youth of this country?
To be honest, I know a lot of youth are saying, even people in the Araga layer, 74 years people have ruined this country. I don't agree, because in that 74 years only we got Mahapula, right? So we got free education, you know. So 74 years, and even though we are in the SJB, leave politics aside, 74 years, Mahinda Rajapaksa, eradicated terrorism from this country. So good things have happened in these 74 years. It's just that it has been mismanaged by certain politicians. I mean, even Mahinda did a good thing, but I think after 2000, after the war in 2009, he just like got this persona of he's a king, and he can do whatever he wants, and then only this all these white elephant projects happened, and so much of corruption and whatnot. So I don't agree saying that 74 years it has been bad, and that's why we are in this situation. uh, get more involved in politics, and I think they should start making policies and hold people responsible. You shouldn't hold people responsible after 5 years. You vote them now, you keep every year, every year, every month, every day, you should hold them responsible. What our people do is they let the opposition party complain about the government they put in, and then again in 5 years they go and vote. So that shouldn't be the case. People should be holding their respective member in the area responsible, taking decisions. It may be locally or nationally. So our people should get involved in that way.
So, so how do you, if I were to ask you, what are the things that we could have done differently back in the past to prepare for this situation so that it would not have happened in this day and age in Sri Lanka?
As in, can you say that again?
Yes. Was there anything that we could have done differently in this country to prepare for a situation like this? And now I know that the COVID-19 pandemic and the current Ukrainian crisis is worsening the economic crisis, not just for Sri Lanka, but around the world. But were there things that the Sri Lankan government, people who are in charge, were there things that they could have done differently to prepare for this situation?
They should have started off with not giving so many tax cuts to the rich. You know, that's like the blunder they did. I mean, at least the president or someone, whoever made that proposal, even before implementing, a normal person would be looking at it and these are not normal people who are implementing these. These are experts. These are economists. They predict the future. You know, so at least to a certain level they predict it and they analyze it. So I mean, why couldn't they analyze this? I mean, leave COVID aside, giving so many tax cuts and losing tax money to a government which is specially we spend on, we have free healthcare, free education, all that. So with tax cuts, so that and spending so much is not going to help, right? So we should have started off by just not doing so. So I mean, that would have we would have been in a better situation. And I think during Corona, I think if we opened up the economy, I mean, we were going into a lot of lockdowns. That's mainly because we didn't properly manage the spread of the virus. But if we properly, without mismanaging the COVID situation, if we managed it properly, I think we could have not gone into so many lockdowns. So I think going into so many unnecessary lockdowns because they couldn't handle the spread of the virus, I think the economy was hit further. So if we saw those things coming and managed it, this is all a mismanagement problem. It's just I don't know. Everyone said that this president is brilliant in everything, but as you know, it's not so, unfortunately.
So, what is your solution to the transport crisis, the current transport crisis?
I wish we never stopped the LRT project. I mean, anywhere in the world, you get into LRT and you go to Singapore. You get into the LRT. I haven't been to England, and I hear the tube there is amazing as well. But it's so easy, no? It's 5-10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes. You're in whatever destination you want to be at, and you can cycle to the station. You can, I mean, you can come in your car or just park it there and just get in the tube, and you go and come back in the evening, get into your car and go home. So I mean, I think it was a huge blunder. I mean, because those things we need, as a developing country, we need a proper either LRT system. Obviously, you can't have a tube system, but a LRT system, and I think we should invest more in a public transport system. Then then people don't look. Even the rich won't be looking at buying so many vehicles and all that. So I think in any country, the transport sector should be, it's a vital sector, and it should be developed. I mean, at least now, I hope uh, you know it gets developed really fast, because with these fuel prices, people cannot afford it.
Also, are there any special comments that you have to the people of this country right now? Because we have come to an end of this interview for today. But before we go, I would like to ask you any words of encouragement, anything at all that you would like to say to people suffering from the crisis currently?
Basically, I know that I just want to urge everyone to be calm, and um and be strong. Plus, I want everyone. I know 2019, a lot of people were hurt, and a lot of people went into that election with a lot of regret, hurt, and sadness with all what happened during in 2019 for the election. So with the Easter attacks and all that, so people were emotional when they were voting. So what I urge the public, the citizens of Sri Lanka, in the next election, do not be emotional. Do not vote from your heart. Vote from your brain. Think about it. Think about every single thing which has been happening since the Easter Sunday attacks. You know, think about all that. Think how the attacks were used as propaganda, how lies were spread, and how communities, they got communities to hate each other and all that, and how we were in queues since COVID hit, from getting a PCR to getting a gas today and getting fuel. We are in a queue. So do not forget, if the queues or whatever stops tomorrow, have a good life, but do not forget it. Use your brain. Don't let politicians hereafter fool us. You know, don't let them fool us. Don't let them spread lies or hate. So use your brain, and let's all get together and change this, because everyone has to get together and change it. We all have to use our brains. We shouldn't get emotional. We should use our brains and get this country back on track.
I absolutely agree 100%, Mr. Vijay Sundara. Once more, it was a great pleasure having you with us on the program, and thank you so much for joining us today. Also,
Thank you for having me.
thank you so much. And also, anyone who is tuning in right now, I want to encourage you. You can call or text in on 078-524-73473. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, because this is Relax Radio Beyond Frequencies, bringing you everything that is trending on through your internet, because this is what the internet radio is all about. So on that note, we have come to an end of today's interview. I will see you again tomorrow. I will see you again next week on Politics 2.0, a summer political reveal. And thank you so much for joining us on today's program.